ask about an update to the situation where the 500 tons of high-energy biscuits are said to expire in a warehouse in the Middle East. The statement from the department yesterday said that the U.S. would always look to try to avoid any kind of food waste, try to repurpose it. Is there any indication that repurposing might happen at this point?
Welcome back to America First, Patriots. I'm your host, and today we're diving deep into something that should make every American taxpayer's blood boil. If you're tired of government waste and want the truth about how your hard-earned tax dollars are being squandered overseas, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe for more America First content. We're the fastest-growing Patriot channel exposing government incompetence, and we need your support to keep fighting for accountability.
Well, there's a lot of interesting numbers that have been moving about with this story. There's some basic responses I can give you, including the fact that if something is expired, we will destroy it. It's a matter of whether or not it's safe to distribute. But I think what's important and what part of the story is here, and a lot of people don't know this, is that we have been feeding the world's hungry for generations. And we've done it because we can. The issue is are we doing it as efficiently as we can and as smartly as we can? We, as an example, distribute roughly 1 million metric tons of food aid every year, which is reflective of the American people's generosity. Of the 1 million tons of food distributed annually by the United States, 500 metric tons of high-energy biscuits also is part of what your question is in the news has been that they were destroyed and they were expired, and yet that 500 metric tons represents less than 1% of the food aid that we distribute around the world. I would also note the difference in its situation where why those biscuits were stored. Americans don't realize, perhaps many do, that we store emergency food all around the world for people in the event of a catastrophe in that region. So we have food that we purchase and it goes to, let's say, the World Food Program or to another distributor assigned to specific sites for distribution. And then we have food that is assigned to be held in the event of an emergency. Those are emergency frameworks, and they are not distributed. They're there in the event that obviously something horrible happens and you need that kind of nutrition. That's where those biscuits were. That was 500 metric tons of what they say HEB, high energy biscuits, and that is less than 1% of the food aid that we distribute, as I've mentioned. The best analogy I can use is that I think most of us have, I do, I'll just refer to myself, a lot of batteries in a battery carrier that I don't use, that they're there in the event of an emergency and the electricity is down, and I know what needs batteries and what doesn't need batteries. And if you wait long enough and there's no emergency, they start to do weird things. They start to sometimes bubble over and get a little corroded.
That's why you should use candles.
That's right. Candles, perfect in earthquake country also. Yes. Batteries, though, we have them. They're situated. Other survival stuff, you situate it, and then you have to get rid of it if fortunately you don't have to use it. That's this story. The story here is the nature of the commitment of the United States to food aid, which we all commit to, but also still, like everything else, doing it more efficiently, with less expense, but with the same framework. So yes, I mean there's a dynamic there where we're going to destroy and we have before the emergency food rations in particular that might expire, and then replenish that.
Let's talk about this absolutely infuriating story that just broke about 500 tons of high-energy biscuits rotting in some Middle Eastern warehouse. Now, the government bureaucrat in this clip wants you to think this is no big deal because it's less than 1% of our total food aid. Let me tell you something. Folks, that's exactly the kind of thinking that has gotten us into this mess in the first place. Here's what really happened. Your government took your tax money, bought 500 tons of emergency food, shipped it halfway around the world, store it in a warehouse, and then let it rot. When confronted about this waste, what do we get? Excuses and analogies about batteries in a drawer. This is not about batteries in your kitchen drawer. This is about millions of dollars of taxpayer money being flushed down the drain. The spokesperson admits they distribute 1 million metric tons of food aid every year. 1 million tons. Do you know how much that costs American taxpayers? We're talking about billions of dollars annually go to feed people in other countries, while we have homeless veterans sleeping on our streets and American families struggling to put food on their own tables. Where are our priorities? Now, I'm not heartless. I understand there are people suffering around the world, and America has always been generous. But this system is broken, and it's been broken for decades. We're storing emergency food all over the globe, supposedly for disasters that may never come. And when that food expires, we just destroy it and buy more. It's a never-ending cycle of waste that benefits nobody except the contractors getting rich off these government contracts. The bureaucrat tries to justify this by saying we need these emergency stockpiles positioned around the world. But here's the question nobody's asking. Why is it America's responsibility to be the world's emergency food supplier? We have our own emergencies right here at home. We have Americans who can't afford groceries. American children go to bed hungry. American seniors choosing between medicine and food. Yet we're maintaining food warehouses in foreign countries that apparently nobody is monitoring properly. This battery analogy is particularly insulting. The spokesperson compares taxpayer-funded food aid to batteries in a drawer that eventually corrode. But those are your batteries in your house, bought with your money. This is our tax money being used to stock warehouses overseas. And when the government's negligence lets that food expire, they just shrug and say it's the cost of doing business. Here's what really gets me fired up about this whole situation. The same government that can't properly manage 500 tons of biscuits in a warehouse wants us to trust them with our health care, our education, our infrastructure, and our national security. If they can't handle basic inventory management on food aid, how can we trust them with anything else? The spokesperson mentions that sometimes they repurpose expired food to avoid waste. What does that even mean? Are they giving expired food to people? Are they feeding potentially unsafe food to populations who are already vulnerable? The lack of clarity here is deeply concerning and suggests either incompetence or intentional obfuscation. We need to have a serious conversation about foreign aid in general. I'm all for helping people in genuine emergencies, but this system of maintaining permanent food stockpiles around the world is clearly not working. We're not running a global charity operation. We're supposed to be putting America first, taking care of our own people first, and then helping others when we can afford to and when it makes strategic sense. The fact that this story is being downplayed as less than 1% of total food aid actually makes it worse, not better. It suggests this kind of waste is systemic and widespread. If we're losing 500 tons here and there across multiple locations, how much total waste are we really talking about? How many billions of taxpayer dollars are being squandered on this broken system? This is exactly why we need representatives in Congress who will ask the hard questions and demand accountability. We need people who will challenge these bureaucrats when they come up with weak excuses and poor analogies. We need leaders who understand that every dollar wasted overseas is a dollar that could have been used to help Americans or returned to taxpayers. The timing of this story is particularly frustrating given everything that's happening in our own country. We have inflation crushing working families. We have a border crisis that's costing taxpayers billions. We have infrastructure falling apart. And yet we're still sending billions in food aid overseas and apparently not even managing it properly. I want to be clear about something. This isn't about being isolationist or abandoning our role in the world. This is about being smart, being efficient, and putting American interests first. We can still help people in emergencies without maintaining this massive, wasteful global food storage system that clearly isn't working. The real question Americans should be asking is this: how many other stories like this are there? How much of our foreign aid is being wasted due to poor planning, inadequate oversight, and bureaucratic incompetence? We deserve answers, and we deserve better stewardship of our tax dollars. Patriots, this is why your voice matters. This is why we need to keep pushing for transparency and accountability in government. These bureaucrats are comfortable with waste because they think nobody's watching and nobody cares. We need to prove them wrong. If this story makes you as angry as it makes me, share this video with everyone you know. Leave a comment about your thoughts on foreign aid and government waste. And remember to like and subscribe because channels like ours are the only ones willing to ask these tough questions and demand real answers. We'll keep fighting for America First policies, for fiscal responsibility, and for government accountability. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll be breaking down more examples of how your government is failing you. Stay strong, patriots.